Everyone. I am Tanya Hitchman with ALS Texas. We're so excited to bring you a special event today. So we have implemented and developed and continue to implement and develop many programs, education and support for the youngest of our caregivers. We know that in Texas, we have close to 3,000 young caregivers. So when we talk about young caregivers, we're really talking about under 30, and that includes 5-year-olds. We know for a fact that there are some families that have 5-year-olds that are helping with feeding tubes, that are helping with respiratory equipment, that are helping with transfers. We want to provide all of the education and programming and support for those families that we can. Today, we're very excited to have a presenter from our Young Adult Leadership Council that was established about a year ago. Gabriel Poveda is a member of that group. He is a phenomenal human being. That one of the first families that I met in person when I started with ALS Texas back in 2019. Gabriel and his family made a huge impact on me in identifying the needs of our community. They also touched my heart. I have been so honored to work with Gabriel. Today, he is presenting one in a series of presentations that he's wanted to share with our ALS community. I will turn it over to Gabriel. He's going to be your presenter today, and we are so honored, and y'all are going to really enjoy hearing from him. Gabriel, thanks for being here.
Well, it's good to be with you, Tanya, and good to be with all of you guys today. Thank you for your introduction. In 3 days, in 111 countries, the world will celebrate Father's Day. Ties will be given, people will frantically visit Home Depot, and across the globe, one special father will be given a mug that declares them and them alone the world's best dad. I like Father's Day. It's an opportunity to tell your dad how much they mean to you. Even a gift can speak volumes. It can say, I see you, Dad. I know who you are. One Father's Day, I, for example, gave my dad a comb. Now, he was mostly bald, but it's the message that matters. I think it's also fair to mention that he looked at me, smiled, and said, 25. I began balding at age 25. This Father's Day, I'm thinking not only of my dad, who I lost 2 years ago, but of a man named Lou Gehrig, who, like my dad, died of ALS. In Gehrig's last baseball game, he said, quote, I am the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I never understood this quote. I've been thinking about it recently because I reread a letter my dad left for my brother and I when he passed. He said, echoing Lou Gehrig, quote, I go with a happy heart and the best memories. I've never understood how a life filled with so much suffering could be considered happy. I don't really believe that terrible things could be made to seem lucky, but I'm wrong. I'm learning this lesson through the stories my dad shared with me, through his fight with ALS, and through the many memories I now cherish. Nothing will ever atone for the suffering my dad endured. That being said, in the months and now years since he passed, I realize he left me something more than the curse of male pattern baldness. Secretly, without knowing it, he left me a roadmap, a hidden guide for a happier life. I'd trade everything to have him back, but I'm fortunate that even now, my dad is teaching me how to be the luckiest man in the world. My dad was raised in a hot Colombian town called Neiva, where the people worked very hard for very long for very little. Neiva was underdeveloped. Its roads were made of dirt and sand. It is nested between two mountain valleys which trap moisture. It's hot in July and it's hot in December, and it almost never rains. I've been there and I can tell you that the heat is so sweltering that your sweat almost evaporates before it can touch the ground. When my dad was 9, his father died of a burst appendix. In an instant, he and his 11 older brothers and sisters had no income. Alone, they had to make ends meet. His older siblings went to work, the middle children took care of the younger, and although they all worked very hard, food was very hard to come by, and they went hungry. When they couldn't afford meals, they survived off of potatoes. If they were lucky, milk too. Of course, I never knew that, at least not directly. My dad told me that he grew up just fine. He was surrounded by brothers and sisters. He played soccer barefoot in the streets. He went on adventures in the hills and was surrounded by his family. He never told me what it was like to go hungry or what it was like to miss his dad. When he remembered his past, he chose to reminisce on what gave his life meaning, not what he suffered. If you want to be the luckiest man in the world, what stories do you tell? My dad was a hardworking man, and he taught me what I believe about relationships. In the early 1990s, he came to the United States with my grandmother, a small, kind woman with soft, wrinkled eyes. My dad was young, he was healthy, and single in the United States. He loved being here. He met new and interesting people. He went to soccer games and enjoyed life enormously. At the end of the day, though, he came home to my grandmother, clipped her nails or did whatever she needed to get done, and made sure she was okay. When I was growing up, my dad took care of the people close to him. He helped his brother find a job. He took care of my mom when she had cancer. He invested time in building relationships with the people that mattered to him, and he took no one for granted. For me, he worked the night shift at Walmart so that he could be home when I got home from school. He got sick with ALS and needed someone to take care of him. My mom and I were happy to do it. Because he invested in the people he loved, he was never alone. There was always someone to take care of his every need. If you want to be the luckiest man in the world, take care of your bonds. My dad wasn't perfect. His patience ran out. Anger could get the best of him. I fought with him, tempers flared, and like most families, it was hard to maintain a steady peace. For a long time, I believed that I would be different. I grew up with wonderful parents, but in my own confidence, I believed that I could grow out of their negative attributes, take only the good, never the bad. I was wrong. Taking care of someone with ALS is a bitter struggle. Everyone has a role to play. My mom did this, I did that. 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 week at a time, we stitched together enough manpower, money, and resources to keep my dad happy and whole. In that struggles, I made mistakes I never thought I would. One of my jobs was to sleep in an office next to our living room where my dad was in a hospital bed. Those nights, I listened to the hum of the BiPAP machine going through the walls of our home. Those days were hard. After school, I'd take care of him. I'd lift him so my mom could clean his back. At night, I'd lay in my bed, my lower spine always hurt, and I'd think about the morning and how I'd have to come home from school and do it all over again. Almost every night, my mom would wake me up because my dad needed to use the restroom. She knocked on the door, the light filled the room, and I could barely register her voice before I felt frustration rise in me. I was angry. I took care of him, but part of me didn't want to. In my mind, exhaustion fought patience, and sometimes exhaustion won. On one night, I complained to my mom that I was tired and wanted to finish cleaning quickly. My dad heard, and I saw sadness fill his eyes. I made him feel bad about something he couldn't control. I've never known such shame. Taking care of my dad made me realize that we can't control the way we feel. By extension, we can't always control the way we act. Put differently, a mother that screams at her child is harming that child, but they're also a mother that is tired, is frustrated, is angry, and is human. A curse of the human condition is that we seem to invariably hurt the people we most love. If you think about it, it makes sense. We criticize the people we love the most because we see them at their most human. I hurt my dad, but he still loved me. Universally, often our close friends, our parents, they hurt us, but we still love them. I've learned that love doesn't exclude failure, it actually includes it. If you want to be the luckiest man in the world, fail the people you love, but always try. My dad lived with ALS for more than 3 years after his diagnosis. For me, it was the last 2 years of high school and the first one of college. His death was shocking. A mobilization, thousands of hours in the making, dozens of hospital visits, hundreds of moments of laughter and sorrow were over in an instant. It was a car crashing into a tree, momentum pushing me into the seatbelt at 50 miles an hour. I emerged from that experience a changed man. It was like a time machine. In one world, I was a regular high school student. In the other, a man who had worked hard and lost his father. My friends have told me that I used to be more fun. I can't imagine why. The year since my dad passed has been impactful. During the pandemic, I took a job at Walmart. I was one of the curbside minions that organized inventory and brought people their things. It was the same Walmart my dad worked at when I was a kid. I walked miles in that store. The bright white light reflected off the polished concrete. My feet hurt. I worked mostly alone, and it was physical labor. I thought about my dad all the time. He worked in that store as a night stalker. He lifted boxes all night, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I realized that he never told me much about working at Walmart. And I realized that I don't think he found it very interesting. He worked hard to provide for his family, and that was about it. I had the opportunity to talk to some of his coworkers, and they didn't like seeing me there. I was taking online classes at the University of Texas, but they wanted to see me reading books, not lifting boxes. They reminded me that my dad came to this country for a better life, that his progress was the result of his parents' progress and their parents before them. Our lives are hardly ever our own. We walk in extraordinary generational shadows. We live because of lessons learned, battles fought, advantages gained over thousands of years. It reminds me of a Bob Dylan song, quote, "I contain the multitudes." In one generation, my father's son will graduate from a great university in the United States. He was happy for how far he had come and excited to see me go farther. If you want to be the luckiest man in the world, know where you come from and know where you're going. To those who have parents, to those who have ALS and are worried about your children, I assure you that they will be okay. Losing a parent when you're young forces you to be more thoughtful about your life. This much I know. Your kids are going to learn from you. You will inform their decisions. You will continue to play a role in their lives, and you'll guide them through challenges. You're an example. Your life is a guide. It's a gift that will speak volumes even decades after you're gone. To those of you who are my peers, remember that you never lose your mom or your dad. For me, my dad will always be the world's best dad. I can still take his advice. I can still learn from his presence in my life. And if your parents are still alive, be with them now and know that part of their story will always be a part of you. My dad is still teaching me to be the luckiest man in the world. Thank you guys for your time.
Gabriel, thank you. Every time I have a conversation with you, your transparency touches me. I know it touches our community. I've said this to you before, and I'll say it many times as we continue our relationship and friendship, but your bravery and courage and your desire to help fellow young caregivers and just to help humanity shine through in everything that you do. I know we are thankful for you. The ALS experience is unlike any other. And you said it affects everybody in the family. I know I'm grateful. Our team is grateful. And I'm pretty sure, and I can say with confidence, everybody that's joining us today and that will see this in the recording will be grateful that you have the courage to share what many of them are thinking or maybe wondering. I will open it up for anybody else that has comments. And I want to, while we're waiting on that, share some photos that you shared with us of you and your dad, Luis. And let me pull those up, and y'all feel free to write comments or questions in the chat box.
Thank you, Tanya. I want to say that I'm really thankful for being able to talk to so many people in the ALS Texas community. With the young adult caregiving group, I get to talk to, kids who went through the same experience that I went through and are going through it. And as much as I love my friends, it's nice to be able to talk to somebody who just implicitly gets it. And that's why I'm really happy to do anything for the ALS Texas community.
And we are grateful for that. We do have the peer support groups, and those really started, the seed for that started even before I joined our team, because we knew, our leadership knew that there was a need for it. When I met with you in your home and you gave me a tour, and I was fortunate to meet Luis, and as he was waiting to see if he had the winning lottery ticket, I'll always remember that too. He showed me that ticket, and he was hoping that was the winning one. But the things that you shared with me on needs, because we talked about what do young caregivers need, helped this group start, and your desire to be a part of that group. And it's just like you said, so many young caregivers, I have heard them say to me personally, I didn't know there were others like me. You know, I felt like I was the only one that would, as you said just a few minutes ago, be frustrated and then think, tomorrow I have to do this all over again. My home life is different than your home life, and you help shed some light on that and encouragement, and it's so desperately needed. So thank you for that. And this picture here, you want to tell us about this picture here? As we're coming up on 4th of July pretty soon, I think it's pretty fitting as well.
Yeah, I actually think that was taken on 4th of July. If I remember correctly, we stopped by a road that was next to a firework demonstration. So it was like almost like a picnic, and we just, you know, watched the fireworks.
I love that. Let me pull up another one. And
you can see there. Oh, actually, could you go back to that one?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me go back.
You can see there my dad, he has his Walmart hat on. That's because he was bald. Like
But did he have the comb in his pocket that you gave him?
Oh no. I don't strangely enough, I don't think he used it.
He kept it in a safe place, I guarantee you. All right, let me pull up a couple more that we have.
Oh yeah, that's the Bluebell factory in Brenham, I think. They give you free ice cream, which is nice.
And it looks like he's got cherry.
Yeah.
I love that. And Gabriel, I mentioned to you when you sent these a few weeks ago that you have your father's smile. I see that there's expressions in these photos since, you know, in the times I've had conversations with you. And when I think about legacy, you mentioned the legacy that, you know, that your father left for you, and his actions and his thoughts and his experience. And obviously we see that too in physical attributes at times as well.
Yeah.
All right. Our participants are being quiet today. Let me,
That's okay,
I know we have, let's see if we have one more. Oh, we do have one more here.
That's when our dog graduated college. It was a very proud moment for everyone.
I love these photos. You know, I know that this Gabriel is one in a series that you've brainstormed about, and it was very important to you that we, when we talked about legacy, Father's Day was just a perfect time for you, and I know that it's also a difficult time. And I believe, and I have seen that turning your pain into purpose makes a big difference. You have done that at a young age. You are doing what many of us don't realize till much older. And so not only are you a leader and example for our young caregivers, but to all of us. And so I thank you for that. I think these are all the photos that we have. While we're waiting for anyone else to make any comments, I do want to share for those who are joining us now and that will watch this recording, we have peer support groups for young caregivers. So we have 2 age groups right now. That doesn't mean we won't have more, and we're always open to what our community needs. That's what it's all about. We have a young adult caregiver group that is tonight, and Gabriel facilitates that group as well. So he wears many hats in leadership. That young adult group is for those young caregivers 30 and under. So it's really, we have some young caregivers that are close to 30, and we also have several high school juniors and seniors. So that group not only talks about their ALS experience, but they also talk about relationships, friendships, dating, preparing for college, future life, and legacy. So if you are a young caregiver and you're watching now, join that group. There is no judgment. They welcome everybody, and they are becoming just really close, and they talk outside of that group as well. So that group meets tonight at 7 o'clock. You can go to our ALS Texas events, workshops, virtual events page and register and find that link. We also have another peer support group for 8 to 13-year-olds. You don't have to be exactly that age. We just targeted that for development and maturity levels for that group. So we have 2 groups that meet, and we would love to see your young caregivers there. It provides just another level of support for you and your family. And again, we have that information on our website. Gabriel, I don't know if there's anything that you want to share before we end this recording. I know I'm looking forward to the other presentations you do in this series. And again, just thank you for your bravery, your courage, and your commitment to life for everyone and making
It's fine.
it
Yeah, thank you so much, Tanya. Please don't put me on so much of a pedestal. I appreciate it.
I know none of us are perfect, but when you meet good people that change lives, that's the good stuff to shout about.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, I do it a lot for me, because it's almost like a therapy for me, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, but I get a lot more out of it, I think, than I put in.
I do understand that, because I'll share with you when I do Stress Less on Purpose and how we manage our stress and focus on purpose. It's a reminder to myself every time. So there is no secret or shame there. That's how we all survive, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you again. Thank you all who are joining. I know we have several from our ALS Texas team. So thank y'all for taking time out to support our young caregivers. And for those of you that will watch this recording, come on, join a peer support group. We'd love to see you, all right? Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.